met my wife almost 2 years ago through some common friends. When I met her, she was heavily pregnant with her ex-boyfriend's child, but her ex wanted nothing to do with her and the kid and dumped her. We got together a bit after she gave birth, and I loved the baby like my own. The kid is now a toddler. Later on, she got pregnant with our child, who's now an infant. I had proposed to her during the pregnancy and started planning the wedding immediately. While planning the wedding, I made it clear how I'd like a child-free wedding, but my wife was against it because she loves the vibes kids bring to weddings. She's also from the Balkans, so having kids at weddings is very important because weddings are usually family-oriented in her culture. We eventually came to a compromise and only allowed kids over 10 years old. She wanted to bring our kids as well, but I told her I was against that because who will take care of them? She said our parents would help us out, and I told her I would not ask my parents to babysit instead of having fun at my wedding. She said I'm being really unfair, not trying to find a solution with her, and how important it is to include our kids at the wedding. I told her she's the one who wants them there, so it's on her to find a solution. Her parents said they'd help her with the kids, but they ended up enjoying themselves during our wedding last weekend. My wife barely danced and got up because she cared for the kids and ran after them the entire time. She complains about how everyone else enjoyed her wedding except her, as the bride didn't even get to dance more than twice. I told her it was her fault and she shouldn't bring the kids in the first place, especially the toddler, because she was the one causing the most trouble during the wedding, running around the whole time. My parents also scolded her and told her she was very entitled to expect them to babysit the kids while they were having fun at their only son's wedding. My wife said we were all the idiots for not trying to see her point and how we all cared more about our own fun and comfort, and we tossed the bride to the side, and she feels like nobody gave a crap about her the entire time. Am I the idiot? Edit. I'd only agree to hire a babysitter if my wife decided to leave the kids at home. I didn't want a babysitter at the wedding. The reason is that I didn't want a stranger at my wedding. My wife knew I wouldn't agree on a babysitter to attend the wedding so she could watch the kids. She didn't find out last minute. She could communicate better with her friends and family to help her out if having the kids there was that important to her, and she also wanted to enjoy herself. You are the idiot. I don't want a stranger at my wedding? So you would rather ruin your wife's one special night over a single guest? You're pathetic. And I hope she gets to have the wedding of her dreams one day with a man who cares about what she wants. Also, just in case you were wondering, if you hadn't invited the children, they would resent you for excluding them on such an important day in the future. You sound too immature and petty to care for your family properly. Hopefully your wife enjoys being a mother to 3 boys. Considering how OP is, maybe it won't be her only wedding. I bet this is just the tip of the iceberg with you. Back-to-back pregnancies and punishing her like a child? Unless you were personal friends with every single personnel involved in the wedding, you have no excuse to refuse a babysitter. OP, you knew all the waiters, the venue manager, the officiant, the chefs, everyone? I think you implemented this rule to ensure she didn't enjoy herself. And when the people taking care of your kids failed to do so, you just sat back and enjoyed yourself because you thought serves her right. They're your kids too. Step up and be a parent. Wow, dude, you are the idiot. Your wife certainly has poor taste in men. First, she dated a dude that abandoned her pregnant. Now she married an idiot that would prefer her to be miserable at her own wedding instead of allowing her to hire a sitter for the wedding since, for her, it was important to have her kids there. Congratulations, Groomzilla. I, 29 female, and my husband, 30, have a toddler daughter who we're raising to be bilingual. I'm from the UK, and her father is from Spain. He lives in the UK with me. We don't want her to be disconnected from her Spanish family, so we're raising her equally with both languages. It's sometimes a bit tricky for me, as I'm in no way fluent, but I'm learning alongside her. The issue is that she's taken to calling my older brother Tio instead of uncle. It's just a Spanish word for uncle, so I never bothered to correct her. And besides, she's more used to saying that as my husband has 4 brothers, while I only have 1. My brothers recently expressed that this makes them feel very uncomfortable and unhappy and how she should be using an English word for him, like uncle, and I should correct her and make her use the right word. I got a bit annoyed with him and told him kids would often pick what they call relatives, pointing out how our grandmother didn't ask to be called Granny. It was just something we started doing. But he doesn't see this as the same and told me if I didn't correct her, he'd start doing it. I've told him that it's harmless and literally just her interchanging her words. Besides, I don't want to discourage any use of Spanish, as she'll already have a hard time growing up in the UK, as she won't have as many chances to use it as she will her English, and any discouragement could make her more hesitant to use her Spanish. When my husband heard this, he was upset that my brother would act this way about a harmless word, but said to me we could try and encourage her to use the English word too. But the fact that this upset my husband made me less inclined to do this. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. That's plain ridiculous. Your brother needs to get over himself. When she's older, he can ask her personally to use the English word. He sounds like the type of person to get cranky at strangers speaking Spanish in a grocery store because he doesn't understand. Doing everything you can to support your daughter being raised bilingual is fantastic. You are the idiot. How would her Spanish tios feel if they were being called uncle instead? We recognize that each person has the right to be called by his or her or their name as they define it, and using a different name is disrespectful. Your daughter can choose whatever name she wants, but your brother can choose whether to respond, ignore, or correct. I am your tio, but I am called Uncle Jack. Tio is not a name, it's a title. She didn't call him by the wrong name. She used a title in a language she speaks that is not his preference. He's welcome not to like it, but the toddler isn't being offensive. It's crazy that your brother is bent about it, though. It's literally the same word in a different language, and it's a toddler using it affectionately. There's a backstory that I need to tell. I, 22 female, have two younger sisters. Amy is 18 and has just graduated high school. I can't think of a family whose parents so blatantly favor one child over their other two as much as my family does. My parents are obsessed with volleyball. Both played in college, and that's how they met, playing at the same school. When I was young, they did everything they could to get me interested in playing. I wasn't. I'm a theater gal. Amy got interested at a young age. They knew she had a lot of talent from when she was young. Amy has played on her school and club teams since she was in 5th grade and was the best player. She's now attending a Division I school on a full-ride volleyball scholarship. My parents' lives are all about Amy. Examples: our main fridge has 20 different magnets with Amy's volleyball pictures. There's one picture of me when I played the Cat in the Hat in 8th grade on the side of it. None of our little sister. Parents ordered custom replica jerseys for Amy's club team so we can all wear them. They have our last name and Amy's number. Parents force us to wear them. We've done it in a Christmas card. They also force us to go to all of Amy's games. But I don't think Amy's ever been to one of my plays. Even in college, her excuse was always valid to skip my plays, but my excuse was never good enough to skip her games. In our basement, we have one of those life-size fathead stickers on the wall of Amy spiking a volleyball. Amy has made this all-regional select volleyball team for the last 2 years, but my parents paid hundreds of dollars to have the jersey put in a custom frame with the background pictures of Amy playing volleyball throughout her life, so that hangs in one of our family rooms. Every holiday we host, right after dinner, almost like clockwork, you can see my mom hooking up her laptop to the TV. She's putting on Amy's game film for everyone. Every holiday. My younger sister, Teen, tries to be like Amy. She plays volleyball too, but not at the level Amy was when she was her age. So my parents treat her volleyball like an afterthought. Amy also has some serious character issues I'd love to rant about, but it's just too long. So Amy's high school graduation party was yesterday, and maybe twice as big as mine was. When talking to some family members who asked me about Amy, I just said I wish my parents took an interest in my hobbies, or me, like they do with Amy, and it hurts to see the apparent favoritism. They agreed they've noticed it throughout my life too. After the party, My parents confronted me because the extended family took my side and said it wasn't fair. My parents just claimed ignorance. They had no idea what I was talking about, and that I embarrassed them for spending the day talking smack about Amy. Maybe I was jealous about the party, but I couldn't deal with another Amy show while mom and dad acted like they had one kid. Not the idiot. Theater is quite as difficult as volleyball in its own way, and your parents need to appreciate that. And if people ask you directly, you have no obligation to lie to make your party seem nice when they skimp on yours. If they want you to say that they treat the two of you fairly and your interests fairly, then they have to do so, not expect you to be a liar on their behalf. They're terrible parents for doing so. Theater is wonderful, valuable, and brings joy to the hundreds of people in the audience, and they're awful parents for not valuing what you do. And I want to scream at them and cuddle and comfort you for this terrible situation. Never make yourself a liar to cover up abuse. And how they treat your extracurricular activities versus your sisters is abusive. Even your extended family can tell. You're 22 years old now. The best thing you can do for them is give them the cold shoulder. If they don't acknowledge your existence, you should as well. You have your extended family by your side, so you're not exactly alone. I'm worried about your little sister because she's still stuck with them. Everyone's the idiot here. Amy didn't ask for special attention, and from the way you describe the situation, she can't influence your parents to change. Discussing that at her graduation party was crappy. Parents often favor kids that are like them, although it seems overboard in this case. Family therapy is called for, since you're now at the point of just looking for opportunities to be petty, no matter who it hurts. My 34 male, father 65, died a few months ago, and his estate is now being divided between my two siblings and me. I have enough money and don't really need the inheritance. My siblings and I were talking about the money that's supposed to be divided 3 ways. I'm childless. My brother 33 has 3 small kids, and my sister 41 has been trying for a baby for over a decade. I told them since I don't need the money, I'm thinking of giving it to my brother because he's been struggling financially and can use the money. However, my sister asked if I could instead give it to her for her last round of IVF. That would cost her share plus my share of the inheritance, and it's her last chance to have a baby. I told her I was sorry, but our brother doesn't have much money and has 3 kids depending on him, so I feel he should get my money. She asked me if my brother's kids were more important than hers, and I said, well, yes, the living children take priority over the imaginary. She was very hurt, called me an idiot for 1, not helping her out, and 2, insulting her and belittling her struggles. Not the idiot, but dude, learn to keep your mouth shut about what you do with your money. You could have quietly given it to your brother and kept it between the 2 of you. So that was an idiot way to go about this. But in general, don't talk about your money with anyone, especially family who feel entitled to it. Quietly giving it to the brother and hoping it'll never come out doesn't work. It'll come out. The sister will feel disrespected and blindsided. Secrets like this within families don't keep. Whatever is done should be done with the knowledge of all 3 heirs, not because they have a right to that knowledge, but to eliminate future blow-ups. Personally, I divided and gave each of my siblings half, but that's my opinion, and OP has to do what he feels is best. Why don't you jump to what your dad wanted? If their dad had wanted to fund his daughter's attempt at IVF, he could have allocated a larger share to her. OP, it's your money, so you can do what you want, but giving it all to your brother will destroy your relationship with your sister. 100% you are the idiot for how you delivered this. You can give the money to whomever you want, but saying giving money towards fertility treatments for someone who's trying for a decade is supporting imaginary children is just awful for no reason whatsoever. I want to believe no one is this tone deaf. She doesn't need it, she wants it. And honestly, let me be the idiot for a minute. If she's been trying for a decade and this is her last round of IVF, there's a better than average chance that any money you give her is effectively thrown away. It's not worth it. She needs to get over herself. If she doesn't realize her living, breathing nieces and nephews take priority over her fantasy child, she's an idiot. She's been wasting money for a decade and isn't entitled to keep trying, especially at someone else's literal expense. Yesterday, we all went to the beach. My brother, nearly an adult, was there with our parents. I was there with my toddler. My husband couldn't come because of a work emergency. My mom has had bad health problems, and I wanted to talk privately to Dad about some stuff in person. So I asked my brother if he would watch my son so Dad and I could take a walk together. He shook his head and said, "He's your kid." I said it would be less than 20 minutes. He said, "I'm not obligated." I said, "Fine." After the beach, we all returned to my place to meet up with my husband. I ordered takeout for everyone but my brother. He requested something, but I just didn't put it in. When he didn't see his order, he said they screwed up. I said, "I didn't get you anything. I'm not obligated. There are cold cuts in the fridge. Make a sandwich." Brother teared up and turned to our parents. Dad shrugged and said, "You know how to make a sandwich." Brother went into the backyard to sulk. Mom asked if that was necessary. She said, "You're the adult. He's the child." I said, "Not for very much longer. He can get a job and order his own takeout." She was sad though, and I hate when she's sad. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You didn't argue. You asked him to watch your kid so you could have a short private conversation with your dad. He refused. You ordered takeout. He asked you to order for him. You refused. It would be different if there was nothing for him to eat, but that's not the case. A sandwich and a bruised ego never hurt anyone. I'm sorry your mother's sick and this made her sad. Hopefully he learns to have a little grace from this and it won't happen again. Everyone's the idiot here. It seems from what I read that she didn't tell him she wasn't ordering his food. Although I agree with the lesson, perhaps she should have told him beforehand that she was not obligated to order his food. She could have asked him for the money for the food or the choice to make a sandwich instead. However, it must have been awful for her brother to realize after the order was placed that he had been excluded. He does suck, though, for his response to helping her out. He needs to learn that actions, or lack thereof, have consequences. Agree. Everyone's the idiot here. Your brother isn't required to watch your kid, but should have been willing to do so, unless there's more to this. Instead, you let him order food, thinking he would get food with the rest of the family, and waited until after delivery to inform him of your revenge. These are both petty, but I'd say you're more of an idiot than your brother because he's just a kid. I go against the majority here and say you are the idiot. Simple, because you invited him to your place and then decided secretly to be a bad host to him instead of being upfront and honest like he was. You didn't invite him to the beach telling him he has to be a babysitter. You acted maliciously, out of spite, by letting him believe his food was ordered so you could say, "Ha ha," in your face. And I think this makes you a really immature idiot. Sorry.